Hi, I'm Pam Klein, and like you, I'm a part of the Reformed Church in America. Our church has recently found a way to work together and to address needs in a way that reaches beyond our regular mission program. Through our united effort, over $15 million has been pledged to help people through the Putting People in Mission program. I'd like you to see what we are beginning to accomplish together, like this project at our seminary in New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Spring break on the campus of New Brunswick Theological Seminary. Most of the students and faculty are taking a break from the rigors of the semester. Most of the campus is quiet. Except for the Bronius Brothers construction crews who are working on the renovation of two of the oldest buildings on campus, the Coy House and One Seminary Place. These buildings were both designed to be faculty residences when they were built over 100 years ago. But recently, they have been deteriorating, and One Seminary Place has gotten so bad that it had to be closed completely.
We've known about this problem for many years, but the resources weren't available to recondition these fine old homes until the PPIM fund drive was proposed. We're glad that we could be part of PPIM and that together with a lot of other mission programs, our needs are being funded for the future. We're just very grateful that we've also been able to find expertise, skill, Reformed Church people here in New Jersey to do the work. Our architect is a Reformed Church elder. The construction firm is all Reformed Church in America people. So not only the money, but the skill and the expertise is being contributed by people from our own denomination.
Not only is it a job, but it's also we're part of the Reformed Church, and that puts an added responsibility on us, which we're glad to have, really. Starting from the bottom, what we actually did is we excavated the existing basement, went down 1 foot. We took a machine and crawled into the basement and lowered the floor level so we could get 8-foot ceilings in the basement. That's how we started. The rest of the building has been gutted completely. And we put in all new windows, all new plumbing, all new heating, all new electric. They'll be like new. The shell will remain as it was, so it keeps its character. When we're through, it'll look the same as it did 100 years ago.
Pete Bronius has 4 sons. 3 of them are working with him in the construction business and helping him with the renovations at New Brunswick. The 4th, Jim, is sitting next door, doing work of another kind.
I joke a lot. My brother John's got the birthright, Mark's been with the business the longest, and Paul's got the degree, so what's left? But in reality, ever since I've been 5 years old, I've wanted to be in the ministry, and I knew that. I believe that's where Christ wants me.
New Brunswick Seminary has had a problem providing housing options for people like Jim for some time.
And most individuals, when they go to seminary, don't have a financial base where they can go out and find readily accessible apartments in the area. New Brunswick is very expensive, very difficult to find anything. We have the buildings, just that they're not usable as they are.
The house directly behind me, up until now, only housed 1 faculty family. It's much too large for that in the modern era. We have redesigned the interior to house 11 students and 2 small faculty families.
For instance, the basements were not being utilized for housing, nor were the attics. The attics were totally unfinished, and we were able to accommodate units in both floors. So what was originally a 2-floor building is now 4 full floors. So we've, as I say, pretty much doubled the effective use of this building, and we will have the same thing with Coy House.
As you know, New Brunswick is on the move. It really is. Its enrollment is higher now than it's been in years. And this particular building will be to house students. And I would encourage people to give for this project, or Putting People in Missions. I'm sold on it as a person.
Upgrading the facilities at New Brunswick is really an investment in the seminary and in the future training of the leadership of our church. Putting People in Mission has a variety of programs which undergird theological education, like financial aid endowments for Western Seminary and Theological Education Agency students, or the Latin American Center for Christian Studies, or various lay leadership programs, including the Center for Parish Associates in Albany Synod. In fact, preparing people for ministry is one of the three main emphases in putting people in mission. Programs like these will have a long-term positive impact on our church. But other PPIM projects are designed to meet short-term needs. For parents in Pomona, California, daycare for their children is an immediate need.
In the midst of a changing neighborhood, Lincoln Avenue Reformed Church has been looking for ways to keep alive its rich heritage of mission support and vision. And after identifying a need in their community, Lincoln Avenue Church began exploring ways to meet that need.
And after we done a demographic study, one of the outstanding things that showed up there is that there were 2,160 working mothers within 2 miles of this church with children under 6 years old. So we sought to start a preschool. Some of the congregation had looked into this some time ago and thought it was impossible. I guess when they say it's impossible, my blood begins to gel a little bit. And so we began to study it, and it took us a year to get a license for a preschool and applied to Reformed Church for PPIM help.
Making the impossible possible because of the united effort of the people of the Reformed Church in America through putting people in mission.
So PPIM really helped our people turn around and said, hey, it is possible. With God's help, we can do anything.
At the same time the church decided to pursue a daycare center, a woman named Julie Thompson came knocking on the door.
Julie Thompson, I believe, was God sent to us in that she was looking for a day school. She was a credentialed person to run a school. And at the same time, we were looking for a director of a preschool, and she had those credentials.
Well, right now we're getting ready for, we have an annual dinner show, and the elementary school writes the show, and they paint the backdrops, make costumes, and prepare dinner. And then the preschool, which is part of our program, they participate, like they make the garlic bread and the punch and help decorate. And then there'll be the chorus part of the show tonight.
For their play, the kids have selected The Little Mermaid. They have adapted it to suit their own special needs, however, and so this version of The Little Mermaid features not one, but two Little Mermaids, and a chorus of baby Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The show does not go without a hitch, but the proud parents don't seem to care, and neither does Julie. She is aware that the process teaches the kids many things.
They learn how to write, they learn to memorize. We've done singing, drama, what else? Supervision, costume making, plus confidence, I hope, in the long run, you know. They have to stand up in front of 200 people. That's pretty tough for 5-year-old to 11-year-old, so.
My daughter, she functions so much better since she's come here. It's like the Lord's taking control of her life as well as mine.
My kids have been here since last year, and I am really very, very satisfied. Having been a school teacher, you know, I know what I expected from my children. And I think the teachers here have been doing a tremendous job.
The place I had my daughter in, prior to this place, the woman was locking her into the bedroom. You know, you've got to find a place for me to place my daughter so that I don't feel this torment. And the same day I prayed, I came here and there was just one spot open for my daughter.
Lincoln Avenue Church is excited about what is happening at the daycare center, but they have done more than apply to PPIM for help. They have joined in the Putting People in Mission program and are helping others as well.
And when Ed called me, my first initial response was, well, it's too difficult. What if I fail? And then I thought, what have I really done for the church, you know? And what did Jesus do for us? And then I just went out and did the best I could. I tried to go to every home, and I asked for a contribution, in the way that it was explained to us. And I just took the answer that came to me. And the answer was yes, yes, yes.
The answer from Lincoln's people was yes. The congregation was given a challenge goal of $28,000, and by the time the totals were in, they had raised over $42,000.
There's more to giving. There's a sense of joy that has crept up, and the $42,000 that's in pledges is over and above our regular offerings, and our offerings have increased about $10,000 a year besides that. So we're quite happy, even with a shifting population in this area. We see people having a new attitude about kingdom work and know what it means to be a part of God's mission in the world.
Putting People in Mission also reaches out internationally, as this agricultural project in Chiapas, Mexico demonstrates.
Mexico has been called the country of corn. Corn originated in both Peru and Mexico. Of loved ones. The raising and harvesting of corn touches every aspect of their daily lives. In past centuries, the Indians lived in the fertile valleys. But with the Spanish conquest, they were forced to plant their corn up on the cool, rugged mountainsides. Their farming techniques were inadequate for the mountain environment, actually destroying the land. Their fields often do not even produce enough food for the farmer and his family, and the continuous abuse of the land deteriorates its capacity even further.
You can destroy a soil in a year, but it takes much more than a year to rebuild it.
This is Bob Short, an English Anglican agronomist who has been living and working alongside Reformed Church missionaries in Chiapas for over 20 years.
We did a study about 8 years ago. We found that something like 50% of the plants naturally growing didn't produce an ear. So they were actually harvesting very little. They were also putting fertilizer on everything and losing half the fertilizer in the process because it didn't produce anything.
Through a land clearing method known as slash and burn, the farmers are able to use a piece of mountain land for a year. But after 2 or 3 years, the land becomes useless.
It leaves the whole soil naked, and then you start getting erosion like up there. Unless they reforest that, in another 10 years, that whole thing will start eroding, and there won't be anything left. It becomes a desert. And that basically is the whole problem.
The future life of the Indian people, and even the ecology of our whole world, is dependent upon resolving this problem. And through Putting People in Mission, the Reformed Church is joining with several other organizations to try and address it. We are funding an agricultural worker named Carmen Gonzalez, a national who was trained by Bob Short.
Bueno, hemos dado cursos especialmente.
We give special courses so that they can get better production from their corn. We try and show them not to use the slash and burn technique. We planted some fruit trees so that they can get fruit in their diet. We've also increased the production of the corn. And we are trying to show them how to prepare the soil better with fertilizers and natural crops so that they can get better crops.
PPIM funds have contributed to this pickup truck, which Carmen uses every day.
Bueno, el carro lo utilizo para llegar a
I
las
use the car
comunidades
to
donde
drive to
tengo
the
que
communities where we
hacer
have
un
our
viaje
projects,
de 5
sometimes
horas
5 or
o
6
6
hours
horas.
drive.
Carmen and Bob teach farmers how to plant natural fertilizers like this bean plant called Petu Mash. Natural fertilizers, or as they call them, green manures, keep unwanted weeds from growing by filtering out sunlight, and drop tons of organic material which help to refurbish the soil.
This illustrates rather nicely what's going on with the green manures. If you look right in here, I can maybe open it up a bit for you, you'll see that right in the middle here, there's very little growth under all this bean shade. And that's what's happening to the weeds and that. It's being shaded out.
The agricultural workers also teach methods to improve the corn which is grown.
The male part of the plant is here, in the tassel. And so you've got to control the male if you want to improve the corn. So we're teaching them to detassel poor plants, just to leave tassels on the good plants, so that any crossing that happens is through good plants.
Most of their teaching takes place through the National Presbyterian Church, our partner church and mission in Chiapas. And while Bob or Carmen talk a lot about agriculture, they also teach about our responsibilities in God's creation.
So I think when the gospel comes, there are three things that are restored. Firstly, obviously, the relationship between man and God. And the price of our sin is paid. Secondly, the relationship between man and man. And then thirdly is the restoration of the relationship between God, man and God's creation, which is very relevant and pertinent to the people who live here, because they live right close to the soil. They live on the land. They need it.
Putting People in Mission is supporting the establishment of over 20 new churches across the United States and Canada. These churches take on many different forms, but one thing they all have in common: they become a new community of people who share their lives together and serve as an inspiration for one another. We found one inspiring story in a new PPIM-supported church in Eden Prairie, Minnesota.
Breaking down barriers is a goal of Road Home Church in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. But for one special member of the congregation, breaking down barriers is a lifetime endeavor. That person is Andrew Davey, and his barrier is cerebral palsy.
I think Andy just has a real inner warmth and spirit that comes out, through his eyes, through his smile. If you've had any time to work with him, you can see that immediately. Andy brings to a congregation the fact that God works in many ways. God knew what he was doing when he gave us Andy.
Andrew is mainstreamed in the Minnesota public school system. He attends the same classes as his peers and listens to the same books.
I tried to squeeze buttons. Had gotten wedged on the edge of the door, and the door. You could see outside into the open air. And there were a few steps running down into a narrow valley between tall mountains.
Andrew's mother, Gretchen, works at the same school that Andy attends and works with children with special needs.
I sometimes look at the kids I'm working with and know how I would want someone to be working with Andy. I wish I could put my finger on exactly, how Andy touches people the way he does. I don't, he just has a love inside of him that seems to feel totally uninhibited to share.
Part of Andy and the whole Davey family's life for the past year has been their involvement in Road Home Church.
Most churches and most Christians today do not understand that there are barriers for unchurched people to feel comfortable in coming into a church. For example, music. We use all contemporary Christian music in our services primarily because we want our sound to sound normal to an unchurched person. And quite honestly, organ music is not normal to an unchurched person. They're not tuned into the radio listening to organ music. They don't hear that any place in their life. Same holds true with drama. We live in a society that is oriented around half-hour sitcoms. They tune into TV, they see a slice of life, and they can identify with that slice of life. Our drama does the same thing. We try to take a slice of life from the theme that we're developing that day. And so in essence, we've given up our service for them. The things that Christians normally value, we've put aside. And that's what we want, because then we feel the barriers are broken down and suddenly we have an opportunity to bring the gospel.
Well, I think it's different than a lot of churches. I like the dramas. I participate in the dramas. And the music is enjoyable, and I'd like to do that too someday.
I'm getting information that I understand from the church, and I mean, enjoy getting the information instead of just getting it in a boring, just sermon way. I get it in something that I can relate to in everyday life.
But of all the members in the Davy family, perhaps Andy's impact on the congregation has been the strongest.
I think Andy's touched all of our lives. Anybody who has encountered him and his family. And that primarily for me has been his desire to learn, his desire to go beyond his physical liabilities. He is very committed to being a part, to being viewed as normal.
I will be independent, and I maybe will be an artist or a minister. Jesus doesn't lie, and I know about Jesus. I know a lot because I always pay attention. When you're talking about Jesus, I always pay attention. I like Jesus a lot.
Putting people in mission is making it possible for us to touch lives, to solve problems, and to help one another. This costs money, but across the continent, $5.2 million has been contributed during the first year. Over the next 2 years, honored pledges will bring in at least an additional 10 million more. We can accomplish what we've set out to do. Thanks to you, we are putting people in mission.